Welcome to Cornerstone Coaching. We are providing rich content to help build your business. In this episode, Dawn Gagye shares on how to use AI practically without losing your voice.
A couple decades ago, I was driving from Boston to Birmingham to do some work with a client, and I was driving alone at night. And the best place at night to stop, and as a woman who's traveling by herself, is usually a truck stop. It's well lit, there's usually people there. And there were. I made my way to the restroom, and I heard steps behind me, a little too closely. And it was a gentleman who was continuing to follow me into the restroom. And by some guardian angel moment, another woman walked in, and he was kind of spooked, and he left. So I got to my destination, which was with my clients, and they said, it's time for you to get a dog. Now, these clients are canine trainers and military working dog trainers and handlers. So that's what I did. I had a problem, and I was going to solve it. So I wound up with this guy. His name is Tracer, hence the name of my business, which is Tracer Strategic Marketing. And with him, he's a little bit different. His breed is a Belgian Malinois. They're used in canine and military operations, and one of them was the dog who found Osama bin Laden, was SEAL Team 6.
Oh, wow.
So he's well equipped, highly intelligent, very driven, can be somewhat aggressive, as you can see in the upper left-hand corner, and requires not just one trainer, but multiple trainers and a really good handler who understands how to be humble, pays attention, and how to wrangle the intelligent, masterful power at the other end of the leash when needed. He's not trained in English, so I had to learn a totally different language. And like they say in Spider-Man, Uncle Ben and Stan Lee, with great power comes great responsibility. And that's what I had. But with this newfound power and this furry companion who can be quite funny at times, as you can see on the bottom, he does like to snorkel where he completely submerges his head to retrieve balls. I needed to really understand what I was wielding, when to wield it and when not to wield it, and how to keep other people around me safe with guardrails. So much like this situation, I needed to be a handler who knew what she was doing. I needed my dog to be finely honed and trained. And I needed the experts, the trainers, to help me bring that all together. When you own a Belgian Malinois, there's training every single day. He's 13 almost right now, and we still do training every single day. And he does his job so well. But what it has given me as a result is not just a furry companion that I can talk about in moments like this, but it's empowered me as a woman who can feel or actually be vulnerable at times to find the freedom to move through the world a little bit differently and to show up. So what does this have to do with AI? Well, same quote. With AI, great power comes great responsibility. So I'm going to teach us today and talk about how we can do that and wield it properly, effectively, to empower you and your businesses. So when it comes to building brand trust in your marketing, you do it wisely, effectively, and leverage it so that you can find those people that need what you do from a service or need what you sell as a product. So again, my name's Dawn Gagye, and I am an AI consultant. What does that mean? It's a broad term, but I'm certified by a company called WSI. They're out of Canada. And that means I lead from the front with AI consulting, and I have an entire group of amazing technicians and engineers and specialists behind me that I can deploy as needed for each client when it comes time for AI training and AI roadmap implementation within their businesses. I have 25 years of marketing strategy experience, and I also am able to work in a strategic way as an advisor.
That was not a hurry up.
No, that's good. I got you. So Currently, right now, Boston Consulting Group has actually completed some research. And after surveying around 10,000 companies, it's been determined that there's a 95% failure rate with AI piloting in companies. That is extraordinarily high. So we've got a problem, folks. Kind of like my situation going into the bathroom that day. So why do they fail? They fail because there's not enough training for the people who are wielding these tools in the organizations that you all have. So how do we address this? I'm going to give you an example of a successful use of an AI implementation in an organization that I didn't expect. And I'm just going to read you the quote. This is from the client. When I engaged AI consultant Dawn Gagye to help integrate Claude AI into my workflow, she built a custom co-work skill from Claude's engine. In financial terms, the impact has been stunning. Within under 30 days of implementation, I saw over $5.5 million in unexpected revenue and watched my profitability climb from 12.5% to 21.3%. Those are some staggering numbers, right? I didn't know that was going to happen. I just knew that there was a problem. And that this person, who is an 81-year-old chairman of the board at a company that does $1.2 billion in annual revenue every year, had this system that was kind of broken. He was lifting heavy, heavy projects. He's on the road about 250 to 280 days a year. He's in 2 cities a day, and obviously he's not a pilot, but he's responsible for 250 consultants underneath him as well. So part of what I started to understand is how he worked, and that meant showing up at a client or prospect, meeting with them for 2 or 3 hours, doing some recon, if you would, gathering intelligence, looking at financials, taking that, going back to an office or hotel room, and spending the next 10 hours doing all of his advisory things, crunching numbers, forensic accounting, looking at projections, understanding what was wrong within the company. These companies were on the brink. Some of them were generationally owned and being passed on to the children who didn't know what they were going to be doing at the helm. Some of them had just been run into the ground unintentionally. They were desperate for answers that this person, the consultant, needed to provide. So the stakes were high. He had to get it right. And it's not that he didn't have the expertise to do this. It was just very costly from a time perspective. So what we did with the Claude co-working skill is we took a tool, which is like a device, a note-taking thing, which I have on the back of my phone here. This one's called Applaud. And he records those conversations with his clients or prospects and gets their permission, takes that back, and we put it into the Claude co-working skill that we built and give it very specific directions that came from his area of expertise programmed with his voice and what the output requirements would be. And we took this 10-hour process and got it down to 45 minutes. So some of you there might think, that means he could serve a lot more clients. No, that means he could go deeper to service that client, that prospect that becomes a client. So that's the power of leveraging AI in a way, much like I leverage the power of Tracer. And knowing you have to have a good trainer, and in this case, that trainer was me. So let's move on. And what we do learn from these experiences with AI and how we decide to train it is that it really doesn't matter the tool. It is important, but it's the operator that matters more. If this consultant didn't have all that depth of expertise in knowing what was required on the output, Claude may not have delivered that type of benefit to his prospect or his client in that way. So we're taking and leveraging the wisdom of the user, the wisdom of the operator, and we're leveraging it. I call it adding an accelerant. So how do we do this? I think it's important to share with you these things, but I like to share the how. So I have a methodology. It's not my own. This was created by Jeff Woods. He's the author of The AI-Driven Leader. I really recommend you buy his book or go check it out. It's wonderful. And he shares this method, which I've been teaching now to lots of prospects, lots of groups, and even my clients. So this is called the CRIT method. C stands for context. We want to give these engines, and again, this is an engine or platform agnostic. You can use it in Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT, pick your poison, it will work. So context, explain what's happening and give it real meaty details. Tell it all the things. Then you're going to give it the role you're going to need it to play or act as. So I also call this act as. Act as if blank expert to help me accomplish this output. Next is interview. And this is really the secret sauce. This is super important. What a lot of people do when they're using these platforms today is they put something in, but they don't ask the platform to have a conversation with them, to refine the output, to understand more beyond the context. So with interview, you're gonna say, I want you to ask me one question at a time, anything you feel like is relevant or necessary for the output we're striving towards, so that you completely understand before you start writing, before you start building. So again, we're refining, we're honing. And my husband, who's here today, Dawn Gagye, he's a sniper. So imagine what it's like to send a sniper into these platforms versus pray and spray, right? Okay, and the final one is task. So define exactly what you want that output to be. So in this consultant situation, it was an advisory report. A large part of that was heavy financials, big spreadsheets. So we wanted to make sure that was easily conveyed and downlined to prospect or client in a way that they could manage and digest the information so they could make actionable decisions on what to do next. So I hope you can see with this process, you can really build in this effective output from these engines and you don't feel like it's all slop. That's what they call AI output when it doesn't feel right and true. It's not very technical. So what we're gonna do now is, I'm gonna show you how to do this in real time. And I'm just gonna give you an example because I feel like I can tell you the framework, but you gotta really kind of demonstrate in a real type world example. What I'd like to do is give you an option. This is a power boost. I was gonna demonstrate it, but given the tech situation we've had today, I'm gonna just talk it through with you. But if you use a device kind of like ChatGPT, and you go onto your device and you open the actual icon, and you go to start your chat, there is actually a small little colored circle that looks like it has a voice. That's where you speak to it. So I would encourage you to try that. I call mine James. He's like James Bond. So here's your example. I am an executive coach who serves overwhelmed business owners in Birmingham. They own and operate, some big, small to big businesses, sometimes medium. Their annual revenue is $5 million. They are active in their community here in Birmingham, in their churches, and they usually have inherited the company from their dad or they're an established franchise. They struggle with lack of a business operating system, and this will become relevant for our gentleman in the back who you're going to hear from him next. I help fix that. So that's your context. Now, you can push more into that, but for purposes of the demo today, I want to keep it a little bit more refined. Role. Act as a world-class copywriter, such as a woman named Anne Hanley. She wrote the book, Everybody Writes. It's wonderful, too. Another book to add if you'd like. And help me draft a LinkedIn post that targets my ideal client. And you can describe your ideal client for this particular context. Interview. Before you draft or write interview me to fill in any gaps, then create the draft. Task. This is helpful, especially for those of you who want these LinkedIn posts to come out the other side. The draft should be less than 150 words and in a Word document, so you can pull it out. Because here's the other secret breakthrough tip. Never be a tourist in your AI output, which means look at it, refine it, revise it, and add your voice. Okay. So part of what I wanted to also share about having brand trust, as is pertinent to this room today, is when you leverage a tool, any AI tool, and you also use that power boost where you pick the conversation icon in your chat, and Claude will do this too, many of the other platforms will do it. When you speak to it, you speak to it. You're not writing to it. We govern our writing. We don't even think about it consciously. What we want to do is speak things out, even if it doesn't sound perfect, because the engines are going to start to pick up those intonations, the way you speak, your real voice, which is authentic and true. And when you speak in that authentic, true lane with integrity in your businesses to attract the right people through your marketing, it will translate better not only in the engines, but to the recipients in your audience who need that product or service that you wield in your businesses for good. So I hope that was helpful. I'm a little bit early. I'm hoping we're going to keep the trains running on time. If you would like help leveraging the power of AI, go ahead and scan this barcode. I also put business cards on everybody's table. You can take one of those to schedule a free 20-minute AI strategy session. I'm not going to tell you anything. There's no tools to buy with this. It's literally just guidance, because I believe, and my mission is to empower everybody to leverage AI for good, not only in their businesses, but also in their lives in general. I see it as an optimist. I think it's important to be skeptical, but not overly critical. This tool is here to stay, and I'm happy to help train anyone on it. And one final note, I have launched a special group for women in business who are interested and curious about how to push AI out in a different type of conversation in their leadership in their organizations, but also learning things like crit. And I've called it the Athena Society. If you are a woman or know a woman who's a business leader or business owner, I would really love for you to share this with them. We had our first meeting last week, and Juliet was part of that group. You can ask her if you really want unfiltered feedback. And I'm looking to build that to a group of 15, and our next meeting is August 25th. So thank you guys so much. I hope this was helpful.